Good day, Dr. Makuni here. And today I just thought, let me come and speak to us about testing. What do the different tests mean? Because I think this is an area where there's a lot of misunderstanding of what a negative result means, what a positive result means. And many times we are doing the wrong test at the wrong time, and then also misinterpreting the results. So I'm going to just describe these curves that you see on the screen, what they mean. These are very important curves that we should understand and that we should know. So in order for us to understand what this means, we need to understand how COVID infection works in our body. What actually happens from the time that we get infected, to the time that we recover. So basically, there is the first phase that we call the incubation phase. So from the time that the virus enters your body to the time that it actually starts to be detected by tests in the body, this is called the incubation period. So when the virus enters your body, it takes time for it to start to actually produce the viral RNA that is going to be detected by the PCR test. So during this phase, this is what we call the incubation period. So you get infected, no test can actually detect the virus at this present moment. So basically, this first stage here is the incubation period, and no test, whatever test you do, it is actually not going to detect the virus. So once now we get to this stage now, after a couple of days, the viral RNA starts to multiply in your body to levels that now it actually starts to be detected by available tests. So you then see this orange curve going up. So this curve actually represents viral RNA that is actually multiplying. So at this stage, if you do a PCR test, it is likely to be positive because the viral RNA is now detectable. Now, as the viral RNA starts to be detectable in the body, the virus now starts to shed some particles, and these particles are called antigens. So you then find that we have got this orange curve for viral RNA, and then the next curve that we have is the green curve, and this is for the antigen. So as the virus is in your body, these particles or antigens are produced, and these are the ones that actually start to be detected, and these are detected by the antigen test. So we then also now get to this stage now where the symptoms start to appear. So as you can see, before symptoms start to appear, we've got two definite phases here. We've got the first phase, which is called the incubation phase, and then we've got the second phase now, where both the viral RNA and the antigen can be detected before symptoms. So basically, if you do a test in this time, you can actually get a positive result. So if you do a PCR test at this stage, you can actually get a positive result. If you do an antigen test at this stage, you can actually get a positive result without there being any symptoms whatsoever. So this is so important even for organizations. We need to understand that if one of our employees or workmates is positive for COVID, and we are now doing contact tracing and we are now testing, we need to understand that if you get a PCR or an antigen test, even before you're symptomatic, if you get a negative test there, you need to understand that maybe you might have actually done the test in this incubation period, and this might give a false negative result because you're still infective, but you're just still in the incubation period. And if you get a negative test there, still it's not room for complacency. You still need to self-isolate and then repeat the test once symptoms appear or after several days, depending on the resources. So basically, we now move on to when symptoms appear. So when your symptoms now start to appear, the tests that are going to be positive, as you can see, it's both the green graph and also the orange graph, because at the present moment, we have got viral RNA and we've got antigen in your body. So at this moment, these two tests are likely going to give you a positive. But we also see organizations and individuals then rushing to do the antibody test. So at this stage, the antibody test is going to be negative, and that is going to be a false negative. So it's so important to make sure that we are doing the tests at the appropriate time. So we then move up on the graph. So as the body now starts to mount an immune response towards the virus, we can actually see that both the viral RNA and the antigen start to actually come down significantly because your body is winning the battle. And then your body starts to produce what we call antibodies. And then these are now rising within your body. So as these are rising and you are winning, then you now see that the virus is actually shedding off, the viral concentrations and titers actually coming down. So as the antibodies now rise, and now notice that this is coming almost from about 10 days to 2 weeks. This is when the antibody response then comes in. So at this stage now, the test that is going to be positive is an antibody test. So we then get a lot of people that come in, they get the antibody test and it's positive. They're worried now that they've got COVID. So at this stage, the test here is just telling us that you've had COVID, you have recovered from it. So this is what a positive test means here. If it's done at this stage, it can actually tell us that we've got a current infection, a current late infection, but you're actually recovering. So basically, this is what the tests are actually telling us. So the take-home message from this is very simple. Let's make sure that we understand the test that we are doing. It is critical that organizations and individuals do the appropriate test at the appropriate time. And clinical history is so important. So if you're unsure, consult your doctor, and then he or she can actually advise the most appropriate test depending on which stage we think that one is of the infection. So basically, let's remember, tests can give false negatives, false negatives, and it's important for us to understand the kind of test that we are doing. And let's remember that it's so important to maintain social distance and ensure that we stop and limit the spread of the virus. Now, one more thing before I go. Now, these antibodies that are generated, at the present moment, we don't know how long they last. So antibodies are supposed to provide a protective effect from you getting reinfection, but there's just not enough data to tell us how long this protection is going to last, and even if is it actually adequate enough. So there's still a lot of research that is coming through. So even if you've had the infection in the past, you've done your antibody test, it's IgG, it's not time to be complacent. Make sure you continue to practice social distancing, continue to sanitize, continue to wear your mask. Thank you.